Hello YouTube, Ronin Kaze. Star Wars The Old Republic. Still on this GD planet, trying to get off of it. It's not God's fault, it's my fault. Sorry, everyone. So, one of the things when you're playing video games, on some of the maps, the map will be black until you discover areas, and then it will be revealed. So these are one of the questions I might ask. Maybe not on an interview, but when someone started working and I got to know them, I'd give them this scenario, like what kind of person are they? And I'd ask them if they played video games or not, and I would check in on all that. And basically, are they completeness nerd in that, you know, they won't go to the next level until I have discovered everything. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I just want you to reveal what kind of person. Do I do that? Not necessarily, but the reason I'm still on Hutta is there's heroics on Hutta that I haven't completed, and I want to do them because I want the loot. I'm gonna turn, spoiler alert, I'm gonna get a level here. The level on the planet's level 10. I'm gonna be level 13. I've told you I do this constantly when I game because I want to not die as much. And at this point, I've released an Elden Ring video, so that's gonna be a growth point for me because all you do in that game is die. And that's part of the mechanic that you learn to accept, which is okay. I'll tell you this about Star Wars The Old Republic. There's still enough people in here that this is a game that was made before there was instanced missions. So you would go into something and you're going to compete for resources. So you're going to compete for the number of people you kill. And so I move away from people. Now it lets you share it. In a game like WoW, it doesn't let you share. Whoever taps, quote unquote, taps the NPC first gets the kill. And then SWTOR, Star Wars Old Republic, it doesn't. Congratulations to me on level 12. You did it, bro. So that's kind of annoying, but it's not, because sometimes people can help you inadvertently complete missions, but sometimes you have to wait to complete them. And the people with white stuff around their name, those are lieutenants, and the people with gold stuff are, you know, boss level kind of things. But you see he's like level 5, I'm level 13, so it's no problem. Plus I have a healer. And one of the things about Star Wars Old Republic, which they ensure happens, except for like the hardest raids and that stuff, but all the missions you can pretty much solo with one of your companions. And what's great about that, you get to see the whole story arc. So what did they emphasize in this game is the story arc of your class. And that's fantastic. And I've told you before that the story arcs are fantastic. The problem is if you're a completist, you might not ever get to it because you're so busy. You know, you might have to go on a planet for a thing. Do you stay on that planet and complete everything on that planet? So that's kind of what I'm referring to. And are you like that in your life? Right? That seems in the real world, if you're like that, that could be, I think, very corrosive because that means you don't move on unless a set of criteria that are in your head that are maybe unspoken are not met. Have I been guilty of that? Yes. There was a time when I moved out of the state I live in now, went to another state for work, and I was going to run an office there, and I was going to move our family there, and we had discussed it. And the first time we all went to do it, it didn't go so well. Because in my mind, I had an idea of how I wanted everything to happen, and everyone has that. And in business, they call that alignment, but in your personal life, you don't really want to align everything, and we need to get alignment. You can't be so rigid. You got to be less rigid. I think yesterday I released a video about Division 2. It was with a person called Rose Fox who was exceptional in the gameplay. I mentioned something about Joseph Campbell. I ended up putting a link into the description, and I went ahead and re-listened to it. I'm going to tell you something. I'm a little bit older than a lot of people, so I've seen some of these things on PBS. My mom was a big public broadcasting person. We had to I had to watch everything when I was with her when I was a kid. It was the PBS or else. God rest my mom's soul. She passed away. But she would fall asleep with PBS on. This is in the, right, I think, I'll say like 1972 on. I'm on it. Like, maybe I was 8 then. And I have pretty good recollections from then on. As much as anyone can have good recollections. But she would fall asleep every night with the TV on. And in Detroit, PBS was on channel 56, I'm going to say a VHF. Maybe it was a UHF station. The one you had to dial in was above channel 13. So then you had to go to that other thing, and then you had to squirrely tune it in. Before there was digital tuning, you had to like analog tune it until the signal got good. Well, at night, they would just stop broadcasting, and so it would just be like snow. Maybe you've seen that in reenactments of the 70s, but that really was a thing. So I would clandestinely, belly crawl on the floor, out of her line of sight. Slowly, again, everything analog, slowly turn the volume down. It was a RCA. It was a magnificent TV. The cabinet was a piece of art. There's a big ass picture tube in it. Maybe 20. I don't know. It was small by today's comparison. And then once I had the volume down, then I would try to change the channel. And the channels would clunk. Again, no digital. It would clunk because you were doing a mechanical device. It would change. Blah, 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 blah. And invariably I'd wake her up. Then she put it on maybe CBC then. Maybe they had up the down staircase or some stupid British thing on that. Nothing against British people. I love you. We came from you guys. Probably, I've said this before, we probably feel stupid when we hear your accent because that accent means smart to Americans. Even though we had to help you twice. You guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll leave that alone. Anyways, again, love British people. I didn't like their TV shows because they got shoved down my throat. So anyways. That's how TV was. That's how video games were completing. You people would complete things before I got on the PBS rant. And that's where I discovered Joseph Campbell. I discovered a lot of things. Of course, everyone's heard of Cosmos. That was Carl Sagan's show on PBS. There was things by James Burke called Connections. That's fantastic. And another thing, The Ascent of Man by, I want to say Jay Bromsky. I don't know his name, but I since have downloaded those videos and watched them. And they're just absolutely fantastic. And this is in the early 70s. We're probably 30 years after the war, so a generation after the war. Vietnam War is going on. You think World War II was so horrific, and then we're still in all these wars. But so these are some of the TV shows. These are some of the things that shaped me. Thanks, Mom, wherever you are. Whoever you are, said Ray in the division. Fuck that guy. So, doing Star Wars: The Old Republic, I have to wait for these resources to come up to get the complete this heroic mission. So this problem with completing stuff is because it's a waste of time sometimes. I'm already past the level of the things I can get from here. This is a vestige of previous gameplay that I, as an old person, hate to characterize myself as that, but right, I'm still feeling that. I gotta complete it before I leave the planet. No, you don't. You're not gonna use any of that gear, you're just gonna burn it. And so I was looking back at that hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, get back on that story. It's absolutely fantastic. And when I'm listening to it, I'm like, man, I probably watched that once, and man, it made a big impact on me. As did these other things. And I'm not going to drag you through Nostalgiaville. It was better in my day. No, it wasn't. Game sucked. Had to play with G.I. Joes. Had electric football where you had guys where the table would vibrate and you could bend plastic. God knows. What? I'm sure there's a scientist that can tell you how you bend the electric football guys and get it to move where you want to. But you'd line everyone up. You'd have everything. And, you would turn the table on off. It was fucking horrific. No, it's better now. It's much better now in that respect. In some things, it's very eerily similar. But that's why I'm still stuck on this planet. Sorry, dear YouTuber. I still need to do the final mission on here that I'm over geared for and everything. So that's what I realize is that's a thing that, how do you know you're old? But I'm not a completist in that respect. I don't care if I see all the parts of the map. I could care less. Really, probably what I'm a prisoner of is I'm always trying to think, what's the next step? What am I going to do in the next step? And playing Elden Ring is a game that it seems like if I can over-level, it would be good. But I don't think it works like that. It seems very flat to me in that I gained 3 levels on one character on there and didn't make a really big difference. So I don't know. I'll learn that game. But I would really pick up Star Wars Old Republic if you're into stories because it has 8 of them that are pretty long. A couple of them are just fire. Some of them they're stories. And you care about them. And this is the game that I stopped being a Republic do-gooder Jedi guy. Where, Jedis are great and they don't make any mistakes. And I think in the movies it starts foreshadowing that. It's good and evil, right and wrong. Sometimes are in the eye of the beholder, right? One person's freedom fighter is another person's insurgent. And I know that seems trite, but perspective has a lot to do with everything. And a not so galactic view of everything, just in your personal life. With my children especially, I mentioned, your story, their story, and all that stuff. But I remember kind of one of the, I guess it's called inflection point, but I don't really know what that means. I know what it means by inference, but I'm going to have to look it up to see if I'm using it right. Is when I would get mad at my son for some behavior, but still let him go anyways. And so what I thought to myself, it's idiotic to get mad and to express that. That's a me problem. Why am I transferring all that disappointment energy to him and then still letting him go? Out. If I ground him, go to your room, And with a 13 to a 18-year-old, that is dubious in its effectiveness anyways. Do you just do things out of rote because that's how my parents raised me? That's what I'm going to do. I play this game because it's how I always played the game. I recently saw a title that was intriguing, but I'm not going to click on it, of a Division 2 video. I've been playing the game backwards the whole time. And I can probably imagine a scenario where you do that, but really, the people that I've met when I've been doing these videos have been consistent and clear. And I agree with them that you should play the game how you want to play it. And so I'm less critical of people's gameplay. I like to prop up gameplay that I see, but I'm less critical about how people do stuff, where it's right or wrong or whatever. And I told you there was only a few times where my way or the highway got to do. That's like in a state of emergency when I was officer in charge. Shit's going downhill and I'm getting paid to make those decisions. now's not a time for a democracy. I'm getting paid to make that decision and suffer the consequences of that decision. And I didn't have a lot of life or death decisions at all, but I have responsibility for people's safety versus, you know, one of the jobs I did. I'll explain. When I listen back to the videos, a lot of times I don't say all this stuff. I don't record in 4K because these are stupid games. They don't need to be in 4K. You're not getting that. You see the grass waving doesn't make the video any better. So I want you to consider that. So I'm digressing, but that's why I don't record in 4K, because the point of the video isn't to see the pictures and all that kind of stuff. It's nice. HD is better than a fuzzy granular screen, I'll give you that, but you don't care to see these games in 4K. Maybe you do, but you might be a completist then. So I don't explain a lot of the things that I tell you. I explain in my head and then I move on. That was an example of, you know, I said, hey, I record 1920 but 1080, but you don't care, it's a video game, because you don't need 4K in that respect. I couldn't find where to do this. I made the bad choice. I'd made the other choice all the time, and I'm struggling, and all I had to do, and I mean, I did this for days and I quit. And I had a problem playing this, so that's why there's a little bit of delay. Anyways, I digressed and I digressed and I digressed. You're going to play the game how you want to play the game. When I do my video review, I'm going to call out the people. Maybe not specifically. I'm not trying to start a war with people, but you're spending money on that. In these video games with builds, and builds are the most popular videos, you do what you want. It doesn't matter. I think I've proved that. It doesn't matter. In Destiny 2, I'm understanding that the people I play with are very thorough and very into the perfect place that I want to know. Ultimate Shield, Sloth Moods. But I got to feel what my build is. I'm starting to feel that my build's kind of right for me, and I'm checking the other stuff. And when I get ready to do build, I'll discuss my build. In Destiny, your weapon choice has a big influence on what happens. So I was playing some battlegrounds, which are repeats of missions with people. Maybe they're a little bit harder. And in the first battleground, I finished last in the damage, and it's because, you know, I'm using that stupid bow. And the bow puts a lot of damage, but it doesn't kill people with one shot, so I'm not getting a lot of kills. So when I switch to my submachine gun, I start getting in second place in the kills. Not that it's a competition, but you don't always want to be ass last. Well, I'm last because I'm hitting the guy, and there was one guy who's just superior to us, right? So he was, you know, he would kill way more people than us. But part of in all these games, you're gauging yourself. And so when you talk about, yes, I have to complete the map every time, I have to do all this stuff, you might have to change. I looked at that video. You're playing the game all wrong. You just play it backwards. You can play it however you want. And I think that part's important about games, because people game for a lot of different reasons. This is going to be another example where, you know, I got to kill these little boxes, and they've already gone through here and killed the boxes, so I got to waste a little bit of time. So if you're looking to play a game but you don't want it to be dead, Star Wars: The Old Republic isn't dead. People still play it. It's free to play. It's pretty good. In fact, most games that are free to play are great nowadays. And I think in previous video I did this. Or a previous video that I didn't share with you. I might have done it too. So I'm going to go back and get these. So that's some food for thought. I don't think every time I'm going to do a video there's some food for thought, but I am trying to tie some things together. I've said a lot of different things, and so I also believe there's a method to my madness. There's some cohesiveness that I see, and I'm not gonna label. I'm not so. I don't love the smell of my own fart so much that I'd label. Oh, this is when I talked about this. You're gonna get what you get. I apologize. You know, I don't think my thoughts are so unique or so special that I need to put them out there. A thought did occur to me. There was a point where I was going to journal all this for my sons and put it in a leather-bound journal and write it. And one thing that happened when I got in the military, it cured me of cursive, right? You very seldom wrote in cursive, only your name. And when I was officer in charge, I had to write my name so much that I developed a signature that was pretty easy and fast for me to do. And now I block print until I get tired, and then it just kind of goes into a mismatch. So what I'm realizing when I'm doing this, no one's the 70 or 100 of you that watch these. I appreciate it like no end, but also maybe someday my kids might watch these too. So it's for you too, also, sons. And if they don't watch it, it's okay too. And if you get something out of it, it's okay. I don't think I have a corner on the market for thinking. Had a nice discussion with Ultimate in Sloth, and it's different than what I think. And it's the best part about gaming is the diversity of people and the diversity of ideas, and that you don't have to have groupthink. And again, here's the part that's groupthink. We're all playing the same game. So there's some part that we're all the same. We don't play it the same. They don't have to do it that way. That's what makes it great. Talked about talking in analogies, and it's a hard thing to explain why diversity is good. Except for the words, that diversity gives you different points of view. But when you're in a gaming environment, you can see absolutely it's great that everyone is different. People know secret things. Ultimate Shield deep dives one thing. Sloth Move deep dives a different thing. I come at a different angle. Man, you get all these diverse viewpoints, and it enriches what you're doing. I barely even know what those charm things, what they're talking about. They talk about, I see them in the game. I don't know what they do. Because the game is still too fast for me in that it's so new. I don't know all the systems. It's starting to slow down for me. And we talked a long time ago about what's your learning styles. I'm a learning by doing. And then when I have questions, I stop in my development until I get my question. No matter how remedial. The question might not have anything to do with anything, but I got to get my question answered when I'm interfacing with people. I don't do that as much anymore because that seems kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But I'll eventually have some demarcation. I used to tell my kids this. There's some litmus test questions you ask people if you want to kind of figure out what their stance is. I would say now that's not as good because in Detroit you had like maybe 5 TV stations, 247. CBS, NBC, ABC. You'd have CBC, Channel 9, Canadian. Then you'd have a big UHF channel, PBS channel. You had 5, maybe you had 7 TV stations. So you had not that many viewpoints. And now with everything being so diverse, you got 500 viewpoints. So I don't think necessarily today litmus questions work necessarily. People are more nuanced on some things. Yes, some people are straight this side, straight that side, right down the aisle. Michigan had a thing in voting, this is how lazy it is, where you could just hit one thing and I want everyone on this side of the ticket. Now, here's a horrible thing. If I cared enough to look at what each person stood for, I'm sure I wouldn't vote down one side of the ticket. But if you're a leader of the country and you complain about the dumb electric thing, quit setting the electorate up to be stupid, to just pick one side or the other, or to not really explain in English what we're voting for. To change the language and trick it where it's like triple, double the negatives. That's, whatever. And that's everywhere. That's every business. That's every personal interaction. When someone's trying to game you, they can't just tell you, do you like this or not? And I'm afraid to hurt your feelings or not to tell you, no, I don't like it. It's okay. And so what I appreciate about the people who've been in the comments, they tell me how they feel. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they never come back. But I appreciate everyone's comments all the same. That's Roxy. And then Roxy begets Caesar. But Macy still hangs out. And so I appreciate you for commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing. The people do reviews on computers and light them up. I'll get me some. And I don't really mean that, as I found some decent reviews, but I understand this is one way for people to make money and monetize it, but I think if I was doing reviews on a computer, I would do a lot different way. But I don't have enough money to buy all those computers, so thank you, YouTube. Appreciate it. Ronin Kaze, signing off.